As we gear up for the Super Six next week on The Masked Dancer, four dancers in Group A become three. As one of them goes home, let's talk about The Masked Dancer. Hey everybody, Dan here, and this is the Masked Dancer wrap up. Welcome to my channel, Dan Reviews It. If you are new around here, I would love it if you'd consider hitting that subscribe button below and as well the little bell next to it so you can get all my updates, not just on the Masked Dancer, but on all the other TV and movie related content that I have here on the channel. But most importantly, I think, for the Masked Dancer videos is to comment below with who you think is under the mask, because you guys certainly help me out from time to time when I'm maybe veering a little bit off track. One of you helped me definitely decide on tonight's person that got voted off. Before we get to the actual performances, let's talk about Rob Lowe, who was the guest panelist tonight. I always love seeing him, of course, from way back in the 80s. I mean, I probably first saw him, I guess, in The Outsiders, like a lot of people, and then of course in the 90s. And today he was, more invested with TV shows like The West Wing and Parks and Recreation, and now he appears on Fox's 911 Lone Star, which airs Monday nights, I think, at 9 o'clock. And I always love having him around. He's on a Fox game show too that only ran, I think, one summer. It was like 2019, and then they didn't do it last year, maybe because of COVID. I don't know, but it was like a trivia thing where you're in this big ball and they shoot you all over the set. It's like a, I don't know, roller coaster obstacle course type thing as you're answering trivia questions. I forget what it was called, but it was fun. Anyway, all right, so we're gonna go a little bit out of order tonight because I'm going to talk about the dancer that got voted out first, and the reason for that is because I think one of the clues maybe will relate to another of our dancers once we reveal the dancer that got voted off. So let's talk about the Cricket first. He was actually the second one to perform, but we're going to talk first about him. So first, he was talking in the clue package about doing a 90s routine to give us a nod to his big break, which we saw on the flags behind him. It was like an Olympic swimmer type of motif, but we saw 19 and 98 on the two flags there, so 1998 was his big break, I guess. And then he's on the Olympic winner stand, like the 1 and then the 2 and 3, and he was on number 2 with 2 medals, so 2 silvers. He said he wasn't allowed to be different where he grew up, and he always felt judged. And we saw judges like Olympics with holding up the scores 9, 4, and 7. And then he was on a super phone with the number 5550128. He said he felt like a knight going into battle, and if he blew it, he would have had to start back at 1. And then he went up this elevator, and there was a PH instead of a 5 for the elevator number. And then there was a constellation when the elevator shot up into the stars. And there was 2 people dancing, so Dancing with the Stars. And the song he did, This Is How We Do It, by good old Montel Jordan, and his word was All Star. All right, so somebody asked where his confidence comes from. A couple of panelists asked questions this episode. Sometimes that happens. I forget who asked the question, but he said his wife, who is always supportive. And then we found out in a post judges clue that he is the youngest in his family. So while we were talking to the judges, Paula thought it might be Brian McKnight with all the back at 1, and I was like a knight going into battle kind of thing. And then swimmers really were on the mind of some people because of the Olympic themed package. So Michael Phelps was talked about largely by Ken, and then Brian Austin Green and Rob Lowe were thinking it might be more Ryan Lochte. And they had put a couple of the clues together for that. But in the end, the Cricket was voted off. So the panelists get to ask questions, and they were all yes/no questions this time. Ashley said, have you been famous for a long time? He said yes. Kind of a stupid question, since we just learned from the clue package that he had his big break in the 90s. specifically if the flags were to be believed, 1998. Brian asked, have you ever been given an award for your craft? He said yes. Ken said, are you known for a multitude of things? And he said no, which I think is sort of interesting. I think he should have been a little more vague on that. And then Paula said, do you have any baby crickets? And he said yes. So the final clues, or the final guesses came down. Ashley went with Ashton Kutcher, someone she said last week. There were a lot of Vegas clues last week. She was really honing in on the What Happens in Vegas movie with him and Cameron Diaz. Ken stuck with Michael Phelps. Brian and Rob stuck with Ryan Lochte. And Paula stuck with Brian McKnight. Now, I'm not sure if I would have gotten there on my own. However, the clues tonight, I think, certainly would have put me in that direction. But I have to give a shout out to Thao Lee from my comments. I sort of, one thing I hate about the YouTube comments is I don't know how anybody pronounces their name, so I do apologize. But Thao Lee put a big comment, actually a couple of them, the other day about Brian McKnight being the cricket, and had a whole list of different things saying, oh, well, this is about this song, and this relates to this song, and something that he or she had really said that stuck with me was the 90210 clue, because last week I had said Ian Ziering, or last time Group A performed. I had thought Ian Ziering, of course, 90210, but I forgot Brian McKnight did a song on the soundtrack of 90210, great song called Love Is with Vanessa Williams, one of my favorites from that year. I have the soundtrack on cassette. And so I thought, okay, well, this is very interesting. Maybe we're on to something here with Brian McKnight. So going into this episode, I was thinking, okay, maybe Brian McKnight. And then the back at one clue, yeah, okay, that's a gimme. A night going into battle, yep, got it. 1998, well, that made sense because, that was his first big album. But the thing that stuck with me that I don't think they explained on the show, and I don't think anybody really outside of the industry or outside the area of this radio station would get, but the 947 that the judges held up with the judges' scores in the clue package. Brian, I used to work in radio, so I'm tuned into all of this stuff. Brian McKnight, for many years, had a morning radio show, and the frequency on the dial was 94.7. So when I saw the 947, this was even before the back at one clue, I was like, I think this is it. So I knew from the 947 that this was most likely Brian McKnight, and then the clues kept coming. So yes, with certainly an assist from our friend here on the comments, it was Brian McKnight, and I'm definitely chalking that up to a decent win for me. Some of these I don't quite get what they mean, but a lot of them were album titles or song titles. I think the 128 is a song too. I don't know what the PH instead of the 5 on the elevator is for, though. I wish they explained that, because I don't quite get that. If you get it, please tell me in the comments. But yeah, I mean, this to me, once I saw that 947, because I just thought that was such a weird clue that certainly is not right on the money, but anybody that lives, I forget where it even was, it's on the West Coast somewhere, but I feel like anybody that lives in that town would be like, oh yeah, that's Brian McKnight from the radio show. So yeah, which is why when Ken said, are you known for a multitude of things, okay, to a lot of people, no, but to anybody that used to the millions of listeners he had on his radio show, you could say maybe, you could say, well, a little bit. I don't know. I guess he didn't want to lead people too astray. But yes, it was Brian McKnight. So there we go. Okay, so the reason that actually leads into some of our other people is because apparently, now I didn't have this written down, but this Thao Lee said that there is 20 Grammy nominees, or 20 Grammy nominations among the dancers. Now, I didn't write that down, so I'm not actually positive where that stat is from. I wrote down that there's 20 Emmy wins between them, 38 million albums sold, and then the Olympic gold medals and the World Championship titles. So, I don't know, but Brian McKnight has 16 nominations. So right there is 16. Ice-T has 3. However, here's where the maybe, maybe not comes in for Ice-T, because technically one of them is with his group Body Count. So yes, technically it is a nomination for him, but it's also a group nomination. So I'm not sure if that counts. If that counts, because Ice-T already got voted out, we already know he was on it. So if that counts, then that's all 20. But if it doesn't count, and Ice-T's, only got 3 solo nominations, then that leaves 1 nomination to go, which might lead us to the Exotic Bird. So the Exotic Bird actually danced first, so we'll go to her anyway. But she said, every day I'm on stage is a good day. She said her round 1 confidence was overflowing, but that was not always the case. And right before her biggest opportunity, she got sick with a savage bird flu. She could barely even breathe, but her mama bird helped. She said, what you're born with, honey, nobody else has, so you've got to let it shine. Then we saw a DJ at a party on the 1s and the 2s. She presented a slice of apple pie, and then she said, these hips don't lie. We also saw a gold football in the package, sort of like as an award, like on a stand. The song she danced to was Latch by Disclosure and Sam Smith. That's a great song, by the way. And her word is number 1. All right, so, and then what makes you feel exotic? Again, the panel asking questions. What makes you feel exotic? And she said, being able to show a different side of myself. So the panel guesses included. Now, Ken was convinced this is Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson has a greatest hits record called Number Ones, and just some other clues. He really was thinking Janet Jackson. Paula, who of course has known Janet for 35 years, she choreographed the Nasty video. She choreographed actually a few videos from the Control record. She was like, there's no way this is Janet Jackson, Ken, shut your mouth. Jordin Sparks was talked about, I believe, by Paula. Kate Hudson actually was Rob Lowe's guest, because he was thinking with the football thing, he was thinking, well, who's a female that's involved with football? Goldie Hawn was in the movie Wildcats, and her daughter is Kate Hudson, which might explain the mama bear, or the mama bird rather, on the phone call as well. All right, possible. And then Brian Austin Green thought there was a lot of clues leading us to Megan Thee Stallion songs, such as Savage, but I do actually think this is Jordin Sparks. Last time we talked about Group A, I was thinking it was Venus Williams, maybe. But I actually thought maybe Jordin Sparks as well. Nobody on the panel said it last week, but I was like, it might be Jordin Sparks, but I'm thinking Venus Williams. But here's my reasoning for Jordin Sparks, and that is my official guess for the Exotic Bird as of now. So, first of all, the reasons I was thinking last time is, number 17 we saw like on a jersey. She won American Idol when she was 17 years old, and we saw, a lot of things. Best by 07 was on like an egg, and she won American Idol in 2007. So, a lot of those things were leading me to Jordin Sparks. But tonight, I don't remember her specifically being sick before American Idol, but the whole apple pie slice, they were thinking, oh, this is somebody, maybe that was in the movie American Pie, maybe somebody that's very all-American. Sure, okay, fine. But Jordin Sparks was in the Broadway show Waitress, which, pies are sort of a key component of that play, or that musical. So I was thinking about that. I know she is very close with her mother. And her word, number 1, well, that could indicate many things. It could indicate that she was number 1 on American Idol. I don't know if she's had any number 1 songs. I feel like maybe she has. I feel like maybe No Air with her and Chris Brown. I'm not sure. But anyway, every day I'm on stage is a good day, she says at the beginning of the package. So I don't think it's Venus Williams. That wouldn't make sense. That would be more like every day I'm on a tennis court, or something like that. So I do think this is a singer that is dancing for the show. And Jordin Sparks has 1 Grammy nomination. It was for pop collaboration for No Air with Chris Brown. So if Brian McKnight has 16, Ice-T has, let's say, 3, if his one with Body Count does not count. And then our final one to make 20 would be Jordin Sparks. So I'm going to go with it. Oh, the football clue, I don't know. I guess her family likes playing football or something. I don't know. Somebody did explain that, I think, on the show, but I don't know. I don't need that clue to help me get to Jordan Sparks. I think that's who it is. All right, so moving on to the Hammerhead. He was third, and he said people already know his fun and his party side, but he has a lot of layers. And he said he had one shot, one opportunity, didn't want to lose myself. That's a very, very on-the-nose reference to Eminem, which, I mean, Eminem ain't doing the Masked Dancer, I'll tell you that. But then we saw an eye chart, and the eye chart said this is a huge clue with an E at the top, and then a carrot and a tomato, which immediately made me think Carrot Top, which had been talked about last time, I think maybe by Ken. But, of course, the producers sometimes will put clues in there for people that have already been guessed. We saw a microphone with a Showtime at the Apollo hook. He said he wanted to be a lawyer when he was young. Felt like I was locked in a cage, but navigating these shores of life. And actually, he didn't say that. That was a book that we saw, Navigating the Shores of Life by E.E. He said he had to embrace his fun-loving side and his disciplined side. And then we saw the number 1 on a jersey. He said fear is no longer a factor. And then there was a wedding cake with 2 grooms on it. The song he danced to was Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, and his word was Heartbreaker. All right. So he said in the extra clue after the judges went over their guesses, he said he's super athletic, but usually on the sidelines in a competition. So the clues, or the guesses from the judges, Ryan Seacrest was bandied about because, for one thing, at the end of his clue package, he said Hammerhead out, which is a Ryan Seacrest thing. And there were a lot of E clues from last time, like the talk soup and kind of stuff. And, of course, the EE, Shades of Life, and the eye chart as well, with the E on top. So they were thinking that Joe Rogan, though, was also talked about because, A, he is very athletic, and he is usually on the sidelines, because he's like a UFC announcer or whatever. And then the whole, fear is no longer a factor, made sense with Joe Rogan. But somebody, one of the ladies, I'm pretty sure it was Paula, was thinking it was Mike Sorrentino from the Jersey Shore. I think that's not a bad guess, but I actually am going to go a little bit further with it. I don't think it's Mike Sorrentino. I don't know much about the Jersey Shore, but I think it's Vinny. And the reason is because of the E's. I was trying to think, like, Mike Sorrentino wouldn't be with an E. That doesn't make sense. But who would be with the E's with the Jersey Shore? Because it still could be Carrot Top, but I think it's a little too on the nose with the literal carrot and the tomato, red hair, on the eye chart. But then again, we've had a lot of on-the-nose clues, like the iced tea being poured. But the whole E thing, I don't know. Vinny, and also it makes sense that he's, usually on the sidelines. He is super athletic, but usually on the sidelines because, yes, that's him. But also, I think he has tried his hand at stand-up before. And I don't know that Mike Sorrentino has. And the other thing I was thinking of with the wedding cake with 2 grooms on it, which nobody on the panel said, but it was very obvious to me there were 2 grooms on it. I don't think that's necessarily means gay, which originally I thought, but now that I'm thinking Jersey Shore stuff, the Mike and Vinny bromance could be with the 2 grooms on the cake. So I think this could be Jersey Shore's Vinny. I'm not even sure I know his last name, to be honest. I never watched the Jersey Shore, but I know who the people are, and I've seen them in interviews and stuff. I think it might be Vinny. All right, so finally we have the Tulip, and she said the hardest part here has been keeping mum with who she is, and especially to her best bud. We saw some chalk in the air that made a dollar sign sort of shape. We had a pyramid in the background there, like an Egyptian pyramid. She said her competition with Bestie, because she was so good at everything, and then we saw like a bell dinging like you would at a boxing match, and she said, but why waste our time arguing? Tick tock. And she said whenever she feels frozen in place, her bestie is the one to hype her up, and then we saw an eclipse at the end of everything. The song she danced to, Fields of Gold by Eva Cassidy, and the word was princess that we heard her real voice on. Paula asked, where does your emotion come from? And she again went to the best friend well. She said, my best friend taught me to put all my feelings into the performance. So a couple of the guesses from the panel, Kristen Bell, because, princess, I was frozen in place, and the actual bell dinging. So they're thinking Kristen Bell there. Brian Austin Green, I think it was thinking Simone Biles. And Ashley, who said Charlie D'Amelio, last week, doubled down on that guess, this famous TikToker, Charlie D'Amelio. And I gotta be honest, I don't know who that even is. So if it's Charlie D'Amelio, I am so completely out of that. I have no idea who that is. Never heard of her until, the other week when Ashley said it. But I actually have a different guess. And I don't know this person that well either. I feel like somebody did say this on the comments, which I didn't go back and look. But I think this is why I started thinking about this person. So if you did comment this the other week, I thank you. Because I think this is where I sort of got this idea moving in my head. I think it is one of the Ziegler sisters. You've got Maddie Ziegler and Mackenzie Ziegler. I don't know much about them, but, the whole Dance Moms thing when they were very young. And, of course, the pyramid that we saw in the clue package, that could be a clue to, the Dance Moms routines, where you're on the top of the pyramid or whatever. I don't watch Dance Moms, but I know that's like a popular cheerleading type of position. But just the whole thing with the best friend and the, ever since I was little, me and my best friend always, had this rivalry, That, to me, it sounded much more like a sister rivalry than a best friend rivalry. And I feel like maybe that's where Ashley was going too. Does Charlie D'Amelio have a sister or something? I don't know. But so I don't know which one this is, unfortunately, because I don't really know enough about these girls. The one that I feel like I've heard of a lot more is Maddie Ziegler, as opposed to Mackenzie. So I'm going to say this is Maddie Ziegler is my guess. And again, if somebody had mentioned that in the comments, I feel like maybe that's where I got that from, because nobody on the show has said it yet, but I was just trying to think of people that because whoever it is, it's somebody I certainly don't know well. There's too many, TikTok clues, both between, the first round and this round with Group A, and I know nothing about TikTok. I'm like Brian Austin Green, I was leaving that to Ashley, but I feel like the Ziegler sisters have to be pretty popular on TikTok, especially because of their dance past with Dance Moms and everything. And Maddie was the one that was in the Sia videos, which is why I know her more than Mackenzie. I just know Mackenzie exists. I don't know anything about her. But at least I think it was Maddie that was in the Sia video. Who knows. But anyway, so those are my guesses. We've prattled on long enough here for the Masked Dancer. Next week is going to be the Super Six. So we're going to see the 3 from Group A that are left, the 3 from Group B that are left. And we'll see what happens. I don't know if they'll be eliminating 1 or 2 next week. We could go from 6 to 4. I'm not positive, but we will see. Some of these clues have been very on the nose, like the Brian McKnight back at 1 thing. So maybe I'm missing something. Let me know in the comments what you think. Who do you think is under the masks? Other than that, we will be back next week with another new Masked Dancer wrap-up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Bye.